Hello and welcome to part 2 of Common Errors. All right, I hope you had a chance to check out the first part where we spoke about some commonly confused words and a few expressions as well. All right, but today we're going to get into some different ones. So if you didn't tune into part 1, all right, what we're going to look at are common errors, which are often errors made by people when they're translating from Spanish to English. All right, so hopefully we can try and correct some of those today. So let's get right into it. The first one up here, all right, this is a common error that I hear a lot of Spanish speakers make when they want to translate the concept that they agree from Spanish to English. So in Spanish, this concept, right, estoy de acuerdo, I am agreed, cannot be directly translated. So when people often make this mistake, are you agreed as a question or I am agreed as a statement, it just doesn't work. All right, so what you should say is, as a question, do you agree? Or as a statement, I agree or I disagree. Or even, I don't agree. So this is just something to keep in mind. It's a relatively simple correction. All right, now we're going to get into a few more corrections that are a little more complicated. All right, so the first one is this concept of think. All right, a lot of times we translate badly and we say to think in, right? But the preposition in is not a preposition that we use with think. All right, so in fact, we have two prepositions that we can use, and the difference between those two is something that's very commonly confused. All right, one is to think about, and the other is to think of. All right, so to think about is something that we use when we're thinking about information that's already clear in our minds. All right, the example here, I often think about my family. So clearly, my family is a concept that's very clear in my mind. All right, I often think about my family because they live in the United States and I live in Spain. All right, there's a big distance between us and we don't get to see each other very often. However, I can give you another example as well, okay? Professionally speaking, imagine that you saw a presentation this morning, right? Well, you can say maybe in the afternoon, wow, I've been thinking about the presentation all afternoon or all morning, right? So it's clear in your mind because you saw the presentation this morning, right? I've been thinking about that TV episode all day, right? You saw a TV episode last night and you've been thinking about it the next day, right? So these are examples that are relatively clear, right? What's more unclear for a lot of people is this concept of to think of, right? So when would we use them, right? To think of is something we use when essentially we want to recall information or when something just kind of magically occurs to you, right? So I'll give you an example where you can kind of combine this concept of think about and think of to kind of contrast them a little. So imagine at work there is a problem that came up, okay, and you were speaking all morning about the problem. So in the afternoon you might say something like, I've been thinking about the problem all afternoon, but I just can't think of a solution. I can't think of a solution. I don't know what we can do. All right, so think about the problem because it's very clear what the problem is, but I can't think of the solution because it's information that you need to recall or information that needs to occur to you. All right. Now imagine that this information does occur to you. Well, maybe you could say something like, I thought of a solution. All right. So this is a case where you kind of have the two concepts together and hopefully it kind of clarifies the situation for you. All right. I'll give you one more example of each. All right. To recall information. Imagine you go to a meeting and you sit down and across the table is a person that you met maybe a couple weeks ago, but you don't remember his name. Okay, you might say something like, "Oof, I know him, but I can't think of his name." Or maybe you turn to your colleague and you say, "Can you think of his name?" Right? It's information you should know, but you still need to recall. All right, so I hope that helps to clarify think, okay, with about and of. All right, most of the time people tend to use this, but this is very, very useful as well in certain situations. So moving on, the next thing I wanted to speak about is this concept of take. All right. So in Spanish, people often say, well, tomar algo, right? For example, you finish a meeting and you have a guest that's there from out of town, and maybe you say, well, should we go have a drink? Okay, tomamos algo, right? So in English, right, this concept cannot be translated as take because we just simply use a different word. In English, take is this concept of transporting from point A to point B. All right, it's a complete different concept. All right, we don't use it for food and drink. So typically for food and drink, what we do use is have. All right, so for example, let's have a drink. All right, the meeting's over, work's done, it's Friday. All right, well, let's go have a drink. All right, but you can also use it for just about anything involving food or drink, right? Let's have lunch, have a dinner, have a beer, have a snack. All right, have is a word that we commonly use in these situations. All right, so just kind of think about it like that. Replace take with have, and most of the time it'll work. All right, finally, the last thing we're going to speak about, and probably the most complicated we're going to speak about today, is this invite. Okay, the Spanish concept of invite, which is when you want to, well, in Spain, when you use invite, all right, as the Spaniards would know already, it's this concept of asking somebody to come with you, but also at the same time offering to pay for them. Right, so if you Spanish invite someone to dinner, right, you're asking them to come with you, but you're also telling them that you're going to pay for them. So in English, unfortunately, the concept is very different. All right, invite just means that you're asking for them to come with you, but it doesn't mean that you're going to pay. All right, and this is something that's very, very commonly confused. So how do we address this concept of offering to pay in English? Well, let's take a look at it. All right, before I explain all of this to you, right, it's divided into two different situations. So imagine one situation, you're at work and you want to offer to take someone to dinner and pay. Right, so you're at point A, but the idea is to go to point B and also offer to pay. Right? The other concept is if you're already in point B, okay, you're already in the bar or a restaurant and you've already had, food or drink and the bill comes and you want to offer to pay. Okay, in that situation, it's slightly different. So we'll look at both of those situations now. So if you're at work, all right, and you have a client that's visiting and you want to offer to take them out, right? One thing you could say is, well, we're done now, so why don't you let me take you out for dinner? Right? Let me take you out for a drink. All right, this is generally understood as I'm inviting you to come with me, but I'm also offering to pay. Okay, so to take someone out, all right, for dinner, for a drink. Right. Another option is this, right? Let's go out for lunch. All right. Well, we're done. Well, let's go out for lunch. Let's go out for a drink. All right. This is just the invitation, right? You're asking them to come with you. All right. But if you also want to say that if you also want to offer to pay, what you could say is you could add this: it's my treat, or it's on me. So together it would be, let's go out for lunch. Let's go out for a drink. It's my treat. It's on me. Right, so it's my treat or it's on me, okay? We probably wouldn't use them together, but one or the other. And with this, it's very clear that you're offering to pay. Now, imagine that maybe you just said this, all right, let's go out for lunch, and the person says, okay, let's go have lunch, or let's go out to dinner, let's go out and have a drink. Right, if you use this, then it's an invitation, you go out together, but it's still unclear that you want to offer to pay. So if you're in a bar or restaurant, the bill comes, and now you want to offer, what you could use are one of these three simple phrases, all right? Maybe you take the bill, you say, no, don't worry about it, it's my treat. Or, it's on me, okay? So maybe you simply grab the bill and you say, I've got it, don't worry, I've got it. Right, so these three phrases can be used to do exactly this, okay, in this situation, to show the other people that you're offering to pay. All right, so this especially, this concept here, this last one we spoke about, the Spanish invite, is one that's very, very confusing for a lot of people. So I hope this helps to clarify a few typical errors. Maybe you make these errors, maybe you don't, but hopefully this clarifies the situation, some of these common expressions or words that are often confused. I hope it helps, and I hope to see you in the next session as well. So for now, take care, be happy, be healthy, and I hope to see you in the next session. Bye.